Everyone, we have a good interview coming up by Egg Thunder News. Elaine Watson does some really great reporting on the industry. If you don't follow her, you should. She's doing an interview with Alan Pearlstein, CEO of California Cultured. And I just want to show this before we get back into the videos on Pluri because they're talking a bit about some of their new bioreactor technology. Let's get into the video.
Demand for cocoa expected to dramatically exceed supply in the coming years. A flurry of creative solutions has emerged. One such is plant cell culture. But is it economically viable, or does it only make sense for a handful of very high-value botanicals?
You need to have a very low-cost way of production, and we think the best way of doing that is moving away from steel systems. The second part is making sure that the cells produce multiple different products and side streams at the same time. And the third is making sure that everything is as either automatable or as scalable as possible. And putting all these factors together, we think that is the key of getting to basically commodity break even and even beyond that as this type of technology scales. So we've been working on these new types of bioreactors that are mass producible and are made out of a non-leachable plastic. And that is a very exciting technological leap because we think that this can truly reduce the costs of scale up for many different parts of the biomanufacturing industry.
But it's not single use?
No, it's multiple use. We can use it thousands of times before we need to replace it. And we've been actually testing this over the last 2 years very successfully. And now it's time for us to start mass producing them and scaling up for our first facility in West Sacramento.
If there are multiple uses, it's not single use, how are they sterilized or cleaned versus a steel bioreactor?
Yeah, so we use a food grade process that's basically just started to have wide scale adaptability, and the benefit of it could be produced on demand. It's very power efficient, and it could be used to sterilize a tremendous amount of equipment with a very fast turnaround time, which is also very important for the COGS and unit economics. With this type of technology, we think we could create truly the purest products with no lead, cadmium, or any of the contaminants that are very present in almost every soil-grown product that you find.
Tell me a bit more about your cell lines.
So we use a mix of cell selection, metabolomics, as well as some proprietary technologies that we've been working to develop. And we've been able to really manipulate many of the cell traits and the biology of the cells to where it gets to do what we want it to do from time after time after time, and to make sure that it's also very genetically stable.
How would cocoa or cocoa products from plant cell culture be labeled and regulated?
So we see a couple of different directions. We're going to be attempting to appeal to the FDA to label this as cocoa. But we see this is even better than cocoa, so maybe even clean cocoa as a potential option, since it has a lot less contaminants than traditional cocoa. Or we could also call it enhanced cocoa. There's a lot of monikers that we're currently exploring, but overall we think cocoa, because it has all the flavors and compounds and bioactivity as traditional cocoa has. So originally we were looking at both co-manufacturers and internal production, but unfortunately due to tariffs and some of the drama in global trade, we sort of refocused more on internal production because we honestly saw after the unit economics, we can sort of build our entire facility and have multiple runs sort of in the same timeline with the same costs that it would cost us to do a co-man run. So once we saw that we could actually beat Co-Man runs at a much larger scale, we saw that the unit economics is now a lot more feasible, and that's also one of the big inflection points that we've seen, that we could actually grow this at scale domestically without necessarily needing these expensive steel reactors that the co-mans would usually have. We are first starting on the flavanol part of cocoa because the demand is outstripping all supplies. In cocoa, there's about 0.1% of its mass is flavanols, so we can produce a lot more on a gram by gram basis.
And is that for the nutraceutical market?
That's for nutraceutical, food, powders, drinks, candy bars, dozens of applications. But right behind it is our cocoa. So that is going to be our more mainstream product, but it uses the same exact technology and systems and even regulatory pathway. We've had incredibly overwhelming interest. Truly, many of our partners and those that we're working to partner with are just so ravenous for chocolate. We're just trying very hard to meet their demands, but we honestly see the demand is so great that even if we grow 1,000% year over year, we won't be able to scratch the surface. Currently, we're partnered with Meiji Chocolate. We have signed a 10-year offtake agreement with them, and we're currently in advanced conversations with many of the world's top 10 chocolate producers and suppliers. So we are looking to close many of these partnership deals over the course of the next year to two. And then from there, we're going to be very excited that we're going to be able to work with these partners to bring cocoa not only to the United States, but globally as well. So we're submitting our GRAS dossier in the early part of the summer. We're looking to have our no questions letter towards either the end of Q4 or somewhere in the beginning of Q1, basically because it's non-GMO. All the media components are food grade, so it's very low risk. After that, we're also building our facility so we could start producing it. And we're working with our partner to start developing these recipes, formulations, and working with these larger food producers to start figuring out the packaging. So we're looking at either mid Q2 to Q3 of next year is when we're going to have some products on the market.
Thanks always for watching. We'll catch you in the next video.